Hello, fabulous friends and fans. Welcome to your horoscope for the week of October 5th, 2014. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. And what an eventful week we have welcoming us now. Really, I've spoken about this for pretty much all the signs out there for the October horoscopes. And so for the monthly horoscopes, that is. And so I would encourage you to watch that because some of the themes that I spoke about for just about every sign are likely to emerge now. However, it is such a lovely week in one respect, a changeable week in another, a week when really we get a sense of where it is that we have not been honest with ourselves. We get a burst of honesty, but at the same time, we get empowerment, we get faith, we get energy, and we get momentum as well. The right amount of reflection, the right amount of clearer perception, and also the right amount of ownership of whatever it is that we wish to experience and wherever it is that we wish to experience greater happiness, greater love, or greater wisdom as well. So this week we have, in the middle of the week, a lunar eclipse taking place. This eclipse is taking place with Uranus in the sky. And at the same time, what is happening that is intimately involving this eclipse is a very rare and special configuration. I wrote about this in my October newsletter as well, called a grand trine in fire. And so depending on your sign, I've been speaking about this going week to week. And this is the week when Mars will align just perfectly with Uranus and with Jupiter in a short span of time, creating what astrologers call a grand trine. And all these planets will be in respective signs of the fire signs, the three fire signs: Mars in Sag, Uranus in Aries, and Jupiter in Leo. So these planets are getting together and sharing this easy harmony of energy, grand harmony, if you will, where we can find blessings just flow into our life. We can find ourselves actually attracting the things that we want. But this is fire energy. So it isn't just about attracting, but it is about being inspired to take action in a way that just feels very natural, feels very right, feels like we have entered a flow, if you will, of energy where things start to happen a little bit more effortlessly. With the lunar eclipse triggering this, it adds to the power of not only the eclipse, because an eclipse is sort of like, and I know I'm being really over simplistic here, so my apologies, but any given full moon is a chance to see things with a new perspective and to understand what has run its course and what has come to fruition, and actually being able to see that. When we have an eclipse, it magnifies the energy. A lunar eclipse magnifies the energy of an ordinary full moon and adds an element of surprise in there as well, where the insights and the understandings, the thing that was staring you in the face seems to come out of nowhere and you go, oh wow, I can't believe I didn't acknowledge that, and it was right there in front of my face. But then you add to that Uranus is right there with this eclipse. And it's triggering this very harmonious configuration in fire. Well, it just tells me that this is a time when a lot of lights will be turning on for a lot of us. A lot of awarenesses will be happening. A lot of connection with your personal truth and a clearer understanding of where your power is and where it isn't. And then choosing to take ownership and moving yourself in the direction that you most desire to go. This is going to be part of the sacred learning for all of us, and it is going to involve an element of surprise. I personally think these are going to be good surprises because this is a very fortunate configuration. So the thing that was staring at us in the face we didn't want to see actually ends up being something really, really positive and really, really good, and helping us to make changes that feel really empowering and really right. And we can see how these changes are going to magnify our blessings. And that's really what happens. Jupiter is involved. It's a magnification of the energy. It's blessing energy. It's faith energy. Uranus is the surprise element. Mars is the empowerment element. So I am just so excited about this for all of us out there. What is also happening this week is the sun will stand across from Uranus, and the sun will also be speaking in harmony with Jupiter. And so this does suggest to me further support, really, because the sun, when there's a full moon, it's the moon standing across from the sun. And so the fact that this moon, this eclipse is happening with Uranus naturally would mean that the sun would be standing across from it. So we've got that taking place, but then we've also got this harmony happening with Jupiter, supporting an understanding of how it is that we can help ourselves create greater blessings for ourselves. If that isn't enough, what we also have taking place this week is Venus. I spoke about this for some of the signs out there last week, but Venus will be speaking with Uranus and Pluto. And so Uranus and Pluto have been in a conversation, a really generation-defining conversation that's been taking place since 2012. And this is really about not waiting. I believe that this conversation is about not waiting for permission to do what it is that you desire to do, to connect with what is true for you, what resonates as right for you, and living it, and not waiting for someone else, whether you consider it a corporation or whatever it is, the powers that be, however you understand them, living your truth without necessarily thinking that you have to align yourself with some big company in order to actually live it. And so I am really excited about this. I'm just going to take a little segue here right now and say, because I have been getting emails, and I mentioned this in the newsletter as well. I know that some astrologers looked at this and they predicted a lot of doom and gloom. I am very much of the belief that everything in the sky is a part of moving us towards greater love and greater wisdom, and that includes this configuration. So yes, there have been some political roller coasters in different places in the world. At the same time, I have to say that we are now in our world living in times that are the most peaceful and the most equal, with the most equality for most of us than at any other time in human history. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't work towards, if you're inspired to work towards greater justice or greater harmony, greater world peace in any part of the world, in any area of life, absolutely trust that inspiration. However, I do think that this particular conversation is not about what some other people are predicting, like famine and things like that. No, I don't see it that way at all. Personally, I see this as our own personal challenge to understand who we are and what it means to live free within ourselves and to define freedom in new ways as well. And so I would encourage people out there to take it more on as a spiritual journey where you can, and where it is that you so are inspired to take it a step further, to inspire global change, political change, however it is. Of course, trust that inspiration. And my hope is that we stay connected to love and allow that to move us progressively forward. Okay, so that was my little segue there. Back to what's happening this week with Venus actually triggering this particular conversation. I do think that actually that is part of the choice that we're making here. We've got Venus in the sign of Libra speaking to this configuration. So for some of us, this is going to be looking at love more honestly, right? Looking at who it is that you're actually with and if you like it or not. And if you don't, making those changes, doing the things that need to happen. If you like who it is that you are with, then this is about making personal changes so that you can come into greater harmony with this person. For others, it's going to be more broad, okay? So because Libra is about negotiation, it is about diplomacy, and so with Aries, with Uranus and Aries saying, you know, I have a right to exist. It's about the individual being true to itself, being true to themselves. With Pluto being about power structures, Pluto in Capricorn rather being about enforcing the power of power structures. Well, you put this together and it does suggest a time when we should see on a global scale diplomacy efforts take place. At the same time, I gotta be honest, because we've got Mars in Sagittarius, there is the possibility that we're going to hear a lot of rhetoric as well, some very inspired rhetoric, in fact. However, all inspiration is not great. And if that should be the case, Venus really speaking to this configuration, speaking to Uranus, speaking with Pluto is going to really help to diffuse a lot of energy that might otherwise be carried away. So I think that this is one example of how the universe is wise and loving, because if it is all just about getting carried away on a place of faith and never questioning that faith, well, then it's not really a healthy faith, in my humble opinion. So we've got Venus helping us there. And in some area of life, you may be asked to bring forward a spirit of diplomacy as well, as you look at what your true desires are and what sort of other factors you have to negate, or you have to find a way to negotiate with as part of living whatever it is that is true for you in at least one area of life. I, for one, I'm truly excited about this. If that isn't enough, Mercury's going to retrograde back into the sign of Libra. And this is where Venus is right now. And this, again, is the sign of diplomacy, the sign of negotiation. We will see talks re-emerge on a global scale where it comes to diplomacy. And personally, in our own lives, in at least one area of life where we got a little bit of a break, we are now going to go back and reconsider some of the things that started happening for us in the late part, in the very last days of last month. So in the very last days of September, this is where Mercury will now return, okay, at the end of this week. And so whatever themes are coming up for you as September ended, you will now find further clarity, further information as well. But understand that it is part of a larger process, and that Mercury will return to this exact place once we get to the early part of November as well. So it is a very adventurous sky. I know I made a bit of a segue there, but I did think that the astrology called for it. I am truly grateful for this moment with you. So very grateful, loving the interactions that I have with you guys. Thank you so much for all your comments on YouTube, on Twitter, on Google+, on Facebook, of my website, nadiyashah.com, for reaching out. Thank you for that. And I love your ideas as well. So got a whole lot of things in the works right now. Looking forward to sharing that with you in the weeks to come. Thank you so much for seeing me as some small part of your sacred journey. If you have sort of overall technical questions about astrology, my perceptions on different aspects of astrology, I would love to hear them. If you would like me to have a look at your chart, if your questions are a little bit more personal, please consider a personalized horoscope where I can look at your chart for you. However, I do want to say that I do believe very much that this video, I hope in some small way, is sending out positive energy, energy of hope, energy of healthy inspiration, and an omen that you need to move your life positively forward. And thank you so much once again. So how all this adventurous sky speaks to you in your sign is coming up right now. Hello, fabulous Aries. It is a lunar eclipse in your sign. So really you are, whether you want to call it the most favored, whether you want to call it, you are one of those people who's really going to be going through some of the major shifts, major lessons, right to the heart of you, right to the core of you. That is what is happening for you now. Keep in mind that this is really seeing yourself differently. This is a shift in identity. And I have seen dramatic things take place for people when they have a lunar eclipse takes place in their sign. I mean, I have literally seen people who've been vegan for years start eating meat. People who ate meat all their life went vegan. People quit doing drugs after being, really loving pot for decades. I mean, I have seen dramatic changes happen for people when they have a lunar eclipse take place in their sign. And it really is getting a clarity and admitting to yourself who you no longer are, and admitting to yourself where you might have over-identified with a certain behavior, a certain pattern, and acknowledging that you've now grown beyond it and you're ready to consider yourself in new ways as well. Those of you born smack dab in the middle of your sign will feel this most, but all Aries should benefit with a fresh perspective that leads to some wonderful empowerment and even better changes. Hello, fabulous Taurus. It is your ruling planet, Venus, that is active now in the sky, speaking with Uranus, speaking with Pluto. This is you having some real moments of honesty. On the one hand, I do think for a large percentage of Taurians out there, this is going to be having a moment of honesty about what your habits are actually saying about what you feel about yourself and where it is that they're kind of getting in the way, if you will. I'll give you a little example. This might not be the case for all of you, of course. However, I do know somebody, personally a friend of mine, who is interested, loves health, loves all the stuff having to do with health, really wants to get into that industry more and more, especially as a professional. However, she's a smoker and believes that that is, counter to her stated intention. And it creates an energy within her that makes her feel hypocritical. And so when I look at that, to me, everything that we do is wise. Every single thing that we do is wise on some level. And so there's obviously some reason that she is identifying with a behavior that sets her up to feel hypocritical and then sets her up to not give maximum energy to what it is that she believes she's meant to do, what it is that she really wants to do. And so that's part of her own inner journey. That is the kind of inner journey that I'm seeing you on in your own unique way. Of course, it won't be exactly the same, but in your own unique way, as part of your sacred journey, you are going to have to look at where the way you are living is contradicting what it is ultimately that you really believe yourself to be. And getting that fresh insight and facing that can really help relieve you of a lot of stuff. You have an eclipse taking place in a part of the sky that has to do with psychic baggage, stuff that we carry, the things that we do that trip us up. And having an eclipse here is really about freeing you of the past, freeing you of baggage, freeing you of unconscious motivations that do get in your way. And I do think that you're going to find yourself very empowered by the changes that you experience now. Hello, fabulous Gemini. Your ruling planet will retrograde back into fellow air sign Libra in a part of the sky that has to do with love, the feelings of love, the emotions of love. That has to do with romance as well, and dating, okay? And also the joy that another person brings into your life. I spoke about this in the monthly horoscopes for you as well. When I look at this configuration taking place, it suggests to me a return to looking at the state of your relationship. Now, as I said again in the monthly horoscopes, I've seen developments happen that you have to go back over. And so if you hear some information that makes you feel that you want to break up with somebody, just know that further information has to come out. It might not be completely accurate, and it might not be that anybody's trying to be malicious in any way. But just know that there can be mix-ups in communications right now. People who break up don't stay broken up. People who do get together with people find a little bit further down the road that they hadn't really considered this person completely and fully. And so there are all these different layers and elements at play, especially when we've got Mercury, your ruling planet Mercury, retrograding, making this so much more important for you. And so you are looking at love, where you are in love, if you like it, if you don't, what needs to adjust within you so that you can welcome greater love as well. And just be mindful not to make assumptions, not to jump to conclusions. Even when things seem really clear, they might not be. And ultimately, this is the universe trying to move you towards greater love and greater wisdom as well, by helping you to get further information and helping you understand that all people ultimately are complex, and that includes you as well. And ultimately, the things that you're experiencing now are meant to help you to reflect on just who you are in love. And if there is a disconnect between who it is that you want to be at your very best, you'll start to understand how to bridge that gap so that you become that person who is open to the kind of love that you know you deserve. Hello, fabulous Cancer. There is a lunar eclipse taking place. Whenever there's lunar phenomenon, especially this important lunar phenomenon, it is going to speak more poetically, if you will, to you than it might to other signs out there. So we've got this eclipse happening. It's happening in a part of the sky that has to do with life purpose, that has to do with career. And you, like other water signs out there, are going to be paying attention to just what it is ultimately that you are doing in the world, what it is that you want to do in the world as well, and how you can actually go about doing it. So it is the work houses that are lit up for the water signs for you. It really has to do with the very peak of the chart. It has to do with how high you want to go in life, what you understand your purpose as being, your career even, your relationship with bosses as well. All of that would be highlighted now. So be open to the possibilities that fresh changes are on their way. Actually, when I look at this, there has to be some changes that are going to take place. Those Cancerians born smack dab in the middle of your sign are going to feel this energy more strongly. However, all of us and all Cancerians are going to be experiencing changes to the way they understand what they really want and goals that really matter to them. What is it that they're going to work towards? What is it that they're going to ease up on? All of that comes into focus now. And all of that is part of the universe showing you that you actually can aim a lot higher than you knew you could before. You actually can reach a lot higher and think of yourself as being able to accomplish a lot more than you thought possible before. I think about how so much of our lives are based on context. So much of our lives, what we expect of ourselves, what we think is good, what we think is not good, is based on what was modeled for us. But really, ultimately, what we think is good and what we think is possible comes down to what we believe we can do. And that's what's going to get a burst of healing energy and positive energy for you this week. Hello, fabulous Leo. This week we've got Jupiter in your sign as part of this very special grand trine in fire taking place. I am so excited about this for you. I do think that this is going to be a wonderful opportunity for you to progress your life powerfully forward, to get a dose of insight, the kind of insight that is set to really help you see just where it is that you can open up greater blessings for you and really tap into that Jupiterian energy that is blessing your life now and for many months to come. And we've also got Mars there. So Mars is really going to help you as well, energize you and help move you and motivate you forward. This eclipse is happening in a part of the sky that has to do with vision. It has to do with putting the things in place that you know you need to if you are going to manifest, if you're going to reap reward, if you're going to accomplish the things that you desire to in your life, if you're going to really live your life purpose. What needs to happen first? What do those steps look like? What credentials do you need to put into place? All of that gets some fresh insight for you. Also, I got to say, for a small percentage of you out there, I'm going to be really honest, this is the kind of sky we see sometimes. Now, all else being equal, we do want to see some other things happening. All else being equal, this is the kind of sky that can suggest a dramatic conversion of sorts. And so, I talked earlier about how, I've seen people with eclipses happening, and this is fire signs. All the fire signs are being especially blessed by this eclipse. But I've seen people, like, under a sky like this, discover a new spiritual path, go into recovery, really come to understand their place in the world very differently, all of a sudden decide to move to a whole other country, be presented with an opportunity. These are the types of really dramatic things that can take place for you now. Doesn't necessarily mean, I do think that this doesn't necessarily mean that you need to upheaval your life. Actually, it looks like these changes are very organic. They feel very empowering. They feel very right. And they feel like they've arrived just in time. Hello, fabulous Virgo. Well, your ruling planet will retrograde back into the part of the sky for you that has to do with finances. I spoke about this in the October horoscopes for you, the general overview horoscopes. This particular energy to me is so interesting for you because it does suggest a return to whether it's a source of income or what you were doing before to make money. All of that is going to be highlighted for you now. So there is an element here of you gaining a sense of awareness as to how you can create greater prosperity for yourself. Some of you are actually going to find yourself revisiting or re-looking at the methods that you use to go about creating prosperity for yourself. Others of you might actually find yourself returning to previous environments or actually having people that you worked with before re-enter your sphere at this time. And it's all a part of you understanding what it is that you believe prosperity is. So there's a larger question here. And any people that should return in that context, it is about you understanding the role that they've played in terms of your prosperity and how it is that this particular source of income either fits what it is that you desire to do next or doesn't. All of that is going to come into focus now. You are being made aware that you actually are very valued and that there are people who see value in what you give. And this is a chance for you to really get in touch with that and to understand that what you actually give deserves to be responded to with greater and greater prosperity. This can also be a chance to reconsider what you thought you wanted to do before and reconsider how it is that you are going to put things into place so that you can launch in new directions financially a little bit further down the road. Hello, fabulous Libra. This month we have Mercury retrograding back into your sign. And with Mercury moving through your sign and now retrograde, this is about you getting clear on who you are. You add to this the fact that Venus in your sign, your ruling planet in your sign, is speaking with Uranus, speaking with Pluto. And this to me really comes down to you looking at your life and saying, do I have a life that I believe is below what I deserve? That's what it comes down to. And so for some of you out there, you're going to be looking at your financial situation. Some will be looking at their love situation. Others will be looking at their work situation. But ultimately, it does come down to redefining yourself, coming to understand yourself differently, what you're doing, what you're contributing, and where it is that you have been demonstrating that you don't value yourself as much as you actually deserve to. And this is about getting that clarity that who you are, actually, it's not just about value, but that there is something within you that you actually can understand more deeply that can help you be more true in the world and be a person who's willing to receive in the world as well. And what I mean by that is, a lot of times we define success and we talk about successful people as going out there and making it happen. Well, Venus is in your sign right now, and Venus is also your ruling planet, and Venus is not Mars. Mars is the planet that likes to go out there and make it happen. And with all the fire energy happening this week, a lot of us are going to be inspired to do that. And that may very well be you, especially in the context of love and relationships and friendships. That is where I see you taking greater initiative and getting out into the world in a wonderful way. However, where it comes to Venus and self-worth, Venus moving through your sign, this is about being receptive. This is about attracting. This is about knowing that you deserve and allowing it to come. Mercury retrograde in your sign is going to be a part of this as well, where you're looking at your life and saying, how have I attracted my current state? Now, I am very much of the belief that every circumstance, every person in your life is a reflection of what you believe about yourself and ultimately the direction in which you may be going as well. And so it's always important not to judge people and to be grateful for the good things that they add to your life, of course. But at the same time, you want to balance it out. You want to balance the energy so that you've got people there who are inspiring you forward. You've got people there that you enjoy your time with. You've got people there that even though they might be very different than you on the surface, you know that they add a lot of value to your life in so many other ways. So that's really great, moving beyond the superficial. And at the same time, you do want to be honest with yourself about how it is that you are where you are right now. You are surrounded by the people you are, and wherever it is that you know that you deserve more, this is the time to get honest with yourself and make changes within so that you start moving yourself in a more loving and wise direction. Hello, fabulous Scorpio. This particular week, we've got your ancient ruling planet, Mars, in a grand trine in fire. And currently your ancient ruling planet is moving in the sign just beyond yours, the sign immediately in front of you. And this part of the sky has to do with finances. And like all the water signs out there, we've got lots of work-related energy lit up in the sky for you, lots of positive developments on the work front, financial front, and also career front as well. However, for you, some of the biggest bonuses, some of the biggest progress that's going to happen for you now is going to be thanks to this eclipse, this lunar eclipse that's going to take place in a part of the sky for you that has to do with work, the actual work you're doing, the work environment in which you find yourself. Some of you are going to find, if not a lot of you, are going to find changes taking place in the workplace. Some of you may find a female coworker leaving, possibly a supervisor leaving. Ultimately, this is going to be very much to your advantage. And I spoke about this in the monthly horoscopes as well. I think that ultimately this is going to help you to progress yourself forward towards greater prosperity and greater responsibility as well, I gotta say. However, it does look like the changes that take place are going to ultimately move you in a positive direction, but it is very much the most active place for you where it comes to work is actually the work sphere. So there may be a change in assignments, there may be a change in clients now, all of it though moving you in a very positive direction. What we also have happening for you now is, I look at the fact that your modern ruling planet, Pluto, is speaking with Venus this week. Venus is in the sign just before yours, in the sign, or the part of the sky rather, that has to do with what's hidden to you, the unconscious, sort of your inner motivations. And I'm going to just say this, I'm just going to put this out there. Given this type of situation, this could be some gossip that really isn't the best thing for you. This could be some conversations that lead you to consider doing some things in a clandestine kind of way. Now, whatever it is ultimately that you feel is right for you, whatever it is ultimately that you feel most comfortable with, that is going to be up to you as well. But just do keep in mind, and especially when it comes to the workplace, because Venus is also speaking with Uranus as well, you really want to tread very carefully. And just know that, I don't remember exactly what they call it, the gossip machine, maybe they call it, that's going to be working overtime. And so you want to be smart, be mindful, and give it a little time as well, because we do have Mercury retrograde right now. Even though Mercury is retrograding in the sign just before yours, it's almost as if you are not having the intellectual appreciation, the clear perception. It's like it's hidden. And you may be thinking that a certain conversation is going a certain way, but in actuality, it might be going a whole other way to you. So just be patient. If it is love, if it is meant to be something good for you, it will manifest in its own time and in a time where it truly resonates as right for you. But if you have any inclination that this is not the pathway you want to go down right now, or this might not be the healthiest thing for you, honor that inclination. Because under this type of sky, starting something under this type of sky very quickly can become something that does not remain clandestine, and that might not be exactly what you want now, or especially as we progress you a little further down the road. Hello, fabulous Sagittarius. Well, we've got Mars moving through your sign, very exciting, setting off this lovely grand trine in fire. I'm very excited about this for you. I've said this in the monthly horoscopes for you as well, the October horoscopes. And I just look at the sky for you, and I think that you are about to get very clear on where your power is and ready to acknowledge what has ended and ready to take the reins on the next and the new and what you really want to do now. I look at the sky for you and I think to myself that you are set in such a wonderful prime position to experience progress in so many areas of life, to experience progress where it comes to just moving yourself towards greater joy, experiencing progress in love, yes, absolutely, to enjoy the company of another person that you enjoy. Also just to understand where your power is to make change and taking ownership for that as well. I do think also for a lot of Sagittarius out there, you're going to be feeling more physically strong than you have in a while, just on a level of body. And this is a great time for you to actually be getting in some workouts and to experience your actual physical body as stronger than you knew itself to be before. You've got Mars in your sign. It's a great time to set up a sort of an outdoor plan, if you will, because with Mars in your sign, it's going to be about sweating in the outdoors if possible, feeling very connected, feeling very present. All of that is going to be very much on your side. However, you've got this wonderful eclipse taking place that's only going to help you in the best possible sense, is only going to help you move your life forward personally in terms of understanding what you most desire to create, what you need to do to self-actualize, but also in a larger sense, with Jupiter involved, in a larger sense, and seeing your place in the world much more expansively as well. All of that is on offer. A lot of happiness, a lot of adventure, and a lot of enthusiasm for where you are now and where your life clearly is heading. Hello, fabulous Capricorn. Well, this week we've got Venus speaking with Pluto in your sign. Now, with Venus speaking with Pluto in your sign, this does suggest to me, and Venus being in a part of the sky that has to do with your career. Okay, so we've got that taking place. And then what we've also got taking place is an eclipse happening in the part of the sky that has to do with home. So you've got this eclipse happening at the base of your sky. And then we've got Venus at the very top of your sky speaking with Pluto. Now, I look at this, I put all this together, and it does suggest to me that you are very much going to be feeling this pull towards work, feeling like there's things that you want to accomplish and things that you want to do. You feel driven, and that's great. This can be a time when you may be, I got to put this out there because you do have Mercury also retrograding back into this part of the sky. And when Mercury retrogrades back into this part of the sky, it's almost like a continuation of talks. What you thought maybe before was a sure thing now might not be so sure a thing. And so you've got to think about, okay, how am I now going to navigate this? How am I going to negotiate? How am I going to be diplomatic so that I can actually get what it is that I want and achieve the thing I desire to? And so you've got that taking place for you. And at the same time, we have this eclipse saying to you, be comfortable with yourself, be comfortable at home, be comfortable in your own skin as well. And so there's a lot of strong spiritual energy taking place for you now. I mean, everything is spiritual. I'm very much of that belief. We've got this strong energy of awareness of spirit happening for you as well. So it is about you tapping into those unseen forces, trusting that you're being led in a very positive direction, because you certainly are, and then doing what you can with what is in front of you to do. Ultimately, you're moving towards greater power. You're moving towards some very great changes. So don't let the whole notion and the need to have retalks and reconsiderations trip you up. You are moving powerfully forward, wonderfully forward, as a matter of fact, personally and professionally as well. Hello, fabulous Aquarius. This week we have an eclipse taking place, and this eclipse is happening right with your modern ruling planet, Uranus. So Uranus is intimately involved in this lunar eclipse that's happening now. And with this eclipse speaking to the parts of the sky for you that have to do with people, it has to do with running into the right people at the right time. It has to do with friendships. It has to do with fun events. And it also has to do with love as well. And I do think that a conversation, possibly very long overdue, is really going to help you to have some lights turn on for you, where before, and I do think because there's such a surprise element with eclipses anyways, add to this Uranus and add to this the importance of Uranus in the sky for you. It does look like this talk really hits home right to the heart of you, where you get a whole other perspective, a whole other fresh perspective that allows you to understand just what direction you want to go in, just what it is that you truly want to do. All of that is going to be highlighted for you now. All of that is going to become abundantly clear thanks to talks and thanks to conversation. There's also an element here, as I said, there's a certain surprise randomness to this. So really, you might just be out and about doing errands and run into somebody, run into a neighbor, run into a cousin, run into a sibling. And it may end up being one of those very people who says the most casual thing that makes you go, oh, wow, okay, light bulbs turn on, the penny drops, and you see all the people in your life so much more clearly. And you see all the people in your life and their underlying motivations and the part that they're playing in your life, where it is that you want to strengthen that, where it is that you're ready to evolve that. All of that becomes abundantly clear to you in a very short span of time. This eclipse is also happening in a part of the sky that generally has to do with communications. So you do want to watch, even with Mercury retrograde right now, still, you do want to watch messages coming in, text messages, and watch the interpretations. But I do see a lot of messages coming in, possibly some very fortunate messages coming in. Just make sure that you read them over a few times to understand what's really being said. Maybe have another pair of eyes look at them as well. But for all that, you could be one of those people who just gets that message, that lucky text message, that lucky letter in the mailbox that really makes a big difference in your life personally and in your relationships and in a grander scale as well. Hello, fabulous Pisces. This week we've got your ancient ruling planet, Jupiter, in this very fortunate configuration that's playing out right now. So this very fortunate configuration between Mars and between Uranus, and Uranus with this lunar eclipse highlighting all of this. And like all the water signs out there, this is about highlighting your work-related areas of the sky. And so for you, the strong spot really is going to be money. It's going to be income. It's going to be what are you doing to earn your money, and how do you feel about the money that you are earning? And more than that, look, I see this and it just suggests to me the possibility of one source of income ending, but you see how this is actually really, really good. And you see how this is actually setting yourself up to experience greater and greater prosperity. And so it looks like it, for some of you out there, may be a long time coming. It might be like you've just sort of been waiting and now it might seem to come out of nowhere, but you've known for a while that at least one situation has kind of served its purpose. And so it may be that a client leaves at this time. It may also be that a project that you've been working on finally comes to an end. And in the process, there is gratitude, there is happiness, there's relief, there's possibility as well. You're looking at the next thing and you're seeing how now that one thing is over, you are free to actually do more of something that you really want to do, that you feel and you know is going to create greater prosperity for you. Regardless of the changes, the financial changes that happen on the surface, just keep in mind that for those of you out there that it might look on the surface that you're experiencing a dip, understand that that's not what's really happening. What's really happening is that you are being empowered to make some changes, to move yourself towards greater success, to move yourself towards greater fulfillment, to move yourself in a direction where you feel like the things that you're really good at are being acknowledged and recognized and you're being well used for them. And you're also moving in a direction of greater prosperity as well. The sky is setting you up very, very nicely now to move towards greater abundance. You've got to trust the process, and very, very soon it will be made abundantly clear to you that absolutely the universe is very abundant and wants you to experience greater abundance. Thank you so much to all signs out there. It'll be a great week. Enjoy.